you can pretty much get on YouTube and find ways to cut the cape off, the ways to dry it out, so I didn't include that. You can use borax, you can use salt, I have both, so just whatever you want to use. Now what I did, you'll see the pictures in this video as well that I will include. What I did is I flipped it upside down first for about a week, okay, and dried it upside down. But, you know, if you do that typically, unless you flatten everything out, I like to have a little bit of curve right here in my fan. See how it's pushing down a little bit? And I like these ends to be pretty flat against the wall. I'm just a little bit OCD that way. But regardless, you know, turkey's beautiful. Fan's gonna be beautiful however you want to do it, as long as it's not all, you know, spread out too bad and too ganked up. So about a week after I had dried it upside down, I'll come back, pull the nails, flipped it over, and then it was already pretty dry in the cape. The cape dries pretty fast. The main thing you want to give plenty of time to dry, up to 3 weeks at least, is the fan. So over time it doesn't start to kind of slowly close up or curl. So I flipped it back over, went ahead and nailed the fan back down just in a couple places. You can wash this, you have a much better result if you wash it. I may wash it again, but I actually, right before I dry it out, I'll wash this part, the fan. I haven't done the wings yet. Just some warm water and some OxiClean or some Dawn soap for that matter. And wash them real good and use a hair dryer, cool or warm, to dry it. The fan takes probably about 15 minutes to dry. I don't think these are going to take very long at all to dry. Anyway, said I was going to make this short, so I am. I'm going to bring this up close so I can show you. This wing, I don't know really how, maybe in transport or whatever, it broke. Can you see that maybe? I've got a couple staples in there. That bone right in the middle, it was broke. And so I had to dry it out. So what I ended up having to do, I put some staples in there with a staple gun. And I also took a flat bar. And I had kind of used it as a splint. And then I put a nail here in the tip and a nail here to hold it in place. And so it was, flat bars probably, you know, 3 pounds or so. So I gave it pretty good weight. And it was kind of drying, standing up like this, but this was flat against the bone. Actually dried really well. So as of right now, I'm in the process of vacuuming off all the salt or borax, whatever you use, from both sides. I'm gonna go get a soft bristle brush now that I've, you know, used a vacuum cleaner to get all the can off. I'm just gonna use a soft bristle brush and just kind of lightly. You're not gonna really mess anything up. It's dry, been drying about 3 weeks. Just to kind of get what I can off the edge of the feathers and the bony part of the wing.
So most of this right here is going to be hidden. The reason I posted this video is,
when looking through the videos on YouTube, I never seen one. You can find some where they just do the tail fan and the back feathers, but you can't find any. I couldn't. Where you mount the tail fan, the back feathers, and the wings. I've considered maybe making it a way where you can still see the feet to showcase your spurs, maybe even your beard. You can be creative and do anything with that, for that matter. I'm not going to do that with mine, but I am going to add the wings to the tail fin and back. So that's why I'm making this video, to kind of show you how I'm going to go about doing that, okay? Alright, I'm going to cut the video off, go ahead and clean the other wing off, and then I'll be back. People have different strategies of pinning everything down. You can use a staple gun, use just a slap stapler. You can use the roofing nails that have the washer on it. I'm just using literally like 10-penny nails here. And I don't go very deep, obviously. This is just 1/2-inch plywood. And you can actually take these out with your hand. You just gotta wiggle them around, just kind of like you would a fence post, I guess. And they pull right out. So don't go out to Home Depot or your local store and buy anything crazy for something like this. You probably got everything you need right there in your shop to get all this stuff out. Okay, I will show you this wing right here. So this is, I had it facing up when I had it drying like so, and I flip it over. And this is kind of what you're gonna see when it's mounted, okay? One on each side. Let's see if I can back it up just a little bit. Okay. But I want to show you these right here. These really are beautiful. These are these copper, what I call brown copper feathers right here. I just want to show you how really easy this is. And you can use a hair dryer too as well. And I would probably wash these before you mount them. I'm not going to show that part of it. But these feathers right here, I'm going to try to get in a light where you can see really good. You can literally take your fingers. You can get as picky as you want with this. You can run your fingers through there, tuck things in, pull things out to where those feathers are really nice, showing really well to move them around. See there? And you can make those feathers good and straight before you mount those. And that's something you can even do after you hang it up, obviously. So just FYI there, I would straighten your feathers out as much as you can, at least these right here. And maybe even these, you can just kind of comb with your finger like so, and they'll kind of straighten up. Maybe even grab a hold of them with 2 fingers. Kind of pull like that. See there? Just slightly pinch and pull them together. So you want them all overlapping the same way. The ones on the high end will be overlapping the one below it, okay? So just kind of go through each one and really detail it out. So it makes it really pretty mount if you really take a little extra time to make all those feathers good and straight. So I want to show you what I'm fixing to do here now is I'm taking a board. This is a 6-inch board. Actually, it might be 5/4. Anyway, if you go any smaller than this, it's probably 1 inch thick. If you go any smaller in width on this, you're not going to be able to get your wings on there just right. So try to get you at least a, let me take a tape to it and see, but I think it's a 5, probably, yeah, 5 1/4 board. So I'd go either that or 6. And I'll show you this real quick before I attach it. You want to save this part at least, 3 inches of it or so at the very top of the board where you can tack your fan on, okay? And your cape's just going to hang. You're welcome to, tack it down to the board as well, but, leaving it hanging, it's going to be just fine. So what I'm fixing to do here is show you how to line this up. Take both my wings. And you notice these right here, the feathers are up on it. It's not a big deal. It's all going to be covered up, okay? So what I'm going to do is I got to figure out how I want it to look, okay? So the first thing you can do, you're going to set everything up kind of like so. Leave yourself some room up here for your fan. And your fan is going to be coming out over the top of these wings. And you see how this drive where these fans are a little bit high, or these feathers. You can cover some of it up if you want. But here's what I like to do. I like to angle it. Kind of like where it's barely on the board up here and more on the board down here. So I like for your wings to almost be touching down here. The main thing you need to look at is, are they in line down here, okay? I'm using the bottom of the board here to kind of gauge that, all right? Well, they've been strutting there. You can see just the needle point of the wing tips there, they wore them off. But the main thing is you got 2 short ones right here, see that? Make sure they're in line and there, and then straight up and down on your board. So you want to come in here and turn it where everything is just right in line. And then you're going to tack it down, which I'm going to relook at everything before I tack it down. I'm just going to show you kind of how you want to line it up. All right, so once you got that, you can take your cape and your fan. You're just going to lay it for the fan part. You can tack it down there, like so. Like I say, once you're done, you can. Here's what I like, okay? You want to make sure you can see these really well right here. See how that really sets it off? And look it up a little higher, you can see that. All right, you see that? So you want to make sure these line up. This is a little bit high, it looks like, see? So I'm going to try to pull that one down, make it line up just right. But I'm going to pull some feathers back right in here. And then I'm going to take either a screw or a staple gun and staple it to that board. Probably what I like to use is these 1-inch drywall screws. Probably what I'm going to do is just take 2 screws behind those feathers, screw it down. Obviously, you want to make sure that your fan, whether it's straight across on the bottom or slightly curved up, it's up to you when you dry it. But you want to make sure that they're even, okay, before you tack everything down just right. You can put one in Then you need to get a good angle and make sure that you can pull it around and make sure it's just the right angle. So when you hang that thing up on the wall, see, once I'm done, on the back side of that board, I'm gonna put a picture hanger or whatever you want to hang it with. Because that board's gonna be in the very back now. And it's not really serving much of a purpose for this bottom part. This is just hanging. It's gonna hang straight. You can straighten feathers up anytime you want. You can lift it up if you want. But it's covering up any kind of blemishes you have where those feathers were sticking up under there. See, it's just covering all that up. So that's what it's gonna end up looking like. And I'll show you the finished product here in just a minute. All right, got something I wanna show you here. I've put the screws, I put a screw here and a screw there. But notice my notch that I've got in my board. But you can tell on this side, I'll show you here as I pull this down. When you get all these feathers, pretend like this is the wall, okay? And you've got this mounted already. Here's what I'm noticing. It's really putting some hard pressure on these feathers right here. It's making them look strange, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, see that small board back there? I'm gonna put that, and you can see how it's tilting this board on that side. Here. So right there, it's tilting that board up about that high. This, not on this side, because it's hanging off, right? It's not gonna do that on the wall, it's gonna be on the wall. So I think just taking an extra board and tacking that with those 1-inch screws on the back side is gonna bring that away from the wall enough. It's not gonna put so much pressure on these feathers and sort of fanning them out and kind of making them look ganky, okay? So I'm gonna put an extra, that's just a little bit smaller. You could use the same size board if you wanted, but this is literally just a 3/4 inch, 4.5 inch board. I'm gonna put that on the back side of this, tack it on. We need to not be as bad on the wall when it's hanging up. Okay, so once it's hanging up, if it is still kind of hitting the wall, just reach up there with your fingers and kind of grab a hold of that and straighten it up best you can so it's not fanned out too bad, okay? All right, so now we're ready to tack on the fan. Like I said, I'm just gonna take the fan, I'm gonna have the cape down here, place the fan right here, find out how I want it to look over the top of these feathers at right angle that I like. I'm just gonna get underneath the feathers, tack it down with 2 screws. All right, I'll show you what I did here. Learned this the hard way, okay? Try to put that screw in behind these feathers, and it got into the fine parts of the feathers and just, see how it's got them feathers all jacked up right there? I can get them fixed, obviously, but just wanna show you, might not be a bad idea to make sure you're past all them small feathers to use a screw, or actually come in through the back side and screw it. So maybe that doesn't happen. So what I'm gonna try first is just flip this whole thing over and come in from the back side. And if that doesn't work, I'm gonna have to use a nail instead to tack it through, okay? Okay. 2.5 inch nails seem to work the best. It's the first thing I tried since I had the deal happen with the screw. Just gotta be sure to feel through here and find where the base of the tail is so you can really get into the bony aspect of it. I've already got one in there, so I'm fixing to put the second one in. Gotta make sure this is all in line before I get that second one in. Make sure I'm in the meat of it. You feel under here, make sure. Okay, I want it right there. So I'm gonna let these feathers out of the way. Put my finger in there. Looks good there. Okay, so what I can do, some of those that are sticking up, just take some of these on the top and kind of push them down. Plus, it's going to be against the wall. Just going to bring that forward a little bit right there. If you're afraid that some of these are gonna stick up or something, just stick something there on it for a few days, something, you know, a pound or less, kind of flatten it out. So now all I have to do is go through here and straighten the feathers up, and the project, after I put a hanger on the back, will be ready to hang. See, from the board, I'll show you that. Not too bad. But from the front, all that matters. So everything looks good. Good symmetry with the bottom feathers here. This is gonna hang loose. You can always scoot it over a little bit if needed. Like so. That hang loose. Take a hair dryer, fluff some of this, straighten feathers with your fingers. Finished product. All we have to do now, put a little hanger on the back. She's ready to put on the wall.